My name is Gary Enzer, and this is my PowerPoint presentation on Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Jean Piaget was born in Switzerland in 1896. He is considered the most influential developmental psychologist in the history of psychology, specifically with developmental psychology and educational psychology. His early theories were actually based on his own three children and his interactions with them. He got his doctorate degree, but before that, he developed a lot of his early thinking based on his interactions with his own children. Cognitive development was the main idea of Piaget's research, and his focus was on why and how mental abilities change over time. It was all about how a child interacts with its environment, which is considered a form of constructivism. He also proposed that a child's intellect progresses through four distinct stages, which we will discuss here in a moment. Some of Piaget's terminology can be a little bit difficult to comprehend, so I took the liberty of including some of those terms here. The first term is schemes, which is our physical reaction with our environment. Piaget labels this as an innate ability, that we are all born with the ability to develop schemes, and we develop those in order to either fit objects into or to modify to fit the object. The two choices we have with objects going into our schemes are assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation is understanding a new object using an existing scheme. So if we know that an object fits into one of our existing schemes, we place it there in order to understand and comprehend it. Accommodation, however, is modifying a scheme in light of a new experience. So when a new object does not fit the existing scheme, we modify that scheme in order to fit the object itself. And then I also included the term constructivism, because that is the branch of psychology that Piaget's cognitive development theory goes into, in which, again, children build a system of meaning through their experiences. We use the life that we live to develop our understanding of the world and the objects within it. Piaget's four stages of cognitive development. We have the four stages listed here: sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. This is the meat of Piaget's work. The sensory motor stage of cognitive development is one in which we interact through the senses. It usually takes place between birth to 2 years of age. In this stage, we use our reflexes for trial and error scheme development. So as we develop those schemes, as we mentioned earlier, we use this to help develop that through trial and error. We also develop object permanence during this stage of cognitive development, that establishes that objects exist even when out of sight or without connection to us. This leads us into the pre-operational stage, where we associate symbols with objects in order to store them in memory. One of the issues with the pre-operational stage is centration, where we focus on only one aspect of a larger situation. We learn to mentally represent objects, but our thinking about those objects is still very, very primitive. This is what takes place between 2 to 7 years of age. We have no reversibility, and we're very egocentric. We cannot return to a starting point for reversibility, and we believe that all people see the world the same as us, which makes us egocentric in this stage of development. Then we move on to concrete operational, which is where we develop logical reasoning, but only for very familiar circumstances. And this takes place between 7 and 11 years of age. During this stage, we deal with perceptible or inferable reality rather than theory. And children in this stage also learn seriation, or logical progression of events. Then we move on to the final stage, which goes from 11 years of age all the way through adulthood, the formal operational stage, which deals with potential or hypothetical situation. We see the form as separate from the content. And you also do well to recognize that each of these stages build upon the other, and we develop in these stages and all of the things in the sensory motor skills move on to the pre-operational, and so on and so forth throughout the stages. And here I've actually included a link to show real-world applications of Piaget's theory. It's a video that seems to show quite a bit of ways that we can incorporate this into the classroom, even into our lesson planning as teachers and educators. And I felt that it fit and explained Piaget's theory of cognitive development perfectly.